goes on, the more I'm finding out that everybody has gifts. And I really like and I'm finding out about them. I didn't know that everybody had these abilities. I'd like for everybody else to know of them. So I was thinking about putting together one of the evenings of everybody that has healing powers to maybe put together a little 5-10 minute segment on themselves, kind of explain what they do and promote what they have or do. And I think it'd be really informative for everybody else that's in the group. I think it'd be kind of cool. It might happen the next month, but I need to reach out to me for sure, but I'm going to reach out to people and see what we can put together. Maybe make a schedule. With that in mind, I'm going to turn this over to Eric.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. And warm indeed. Can everyone hear me okay? Is the mic okay? I love public speaking, but microphones and me sometimes don't mix, so just making sure. So yeah, the warm welcome part that I was segueing with, talk about warm, hot energy that we're going to be stepping into in this astrology in 2026. This is really a great day that we're doing this because if I start off the top with a little bit of Chinese zodiac astrology, this is the last day of the year of the water snake. So this whole year has been about slithering forward and shedding old skin, and it's been a very emotional time. So what we're heading into, starting tomorrow, is the year of the fire horse, and we also are starting the eclipses. And so I'll, of course, get into what that means, but what I want to say with the year of the fire horse, the next year it is this very hot, fiery, charge forward kind of energy. Now, the horse in Chinese astrology was very covenant. It was this, the majesty of the horse, right? There's a lot of strength. Kathy is the year of the horse, aren't you? And it's one of those things where when you add that element of fire, as every year the animal that is in the Chinese astrology gets a new element, it matches the astrology really well for this okay, it's a little brash, it's a little intense, it's a little bit giddy up and gallop. Now, we are heading also into this Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries, and so we have not seen this since the 1700s. We're talking Newtonian physics, Age of Reason, moving away from more mystical elements to more scientific things, and so sometimes history can have a way of repeating itself. The main thing that I'll say about it is that for those people that identify spiritually minded, just hold the line, just really hold that, because if you go back to the 1700s, there was kind of some pushback against people that were a little bit more outside the box, with more of that spiritual variety. And so Saturn is that planet that deals with integrity and accountability. It's in Aries, so it's kind of this, how to own it, who am I, what am I committed to, the actions that I'm taking. And then when you combine Neptune there, it's this very majestic, intuitive energy. It's the rawness of Aries, in the heat of the moment, what is the next action step that we're taking? Who am I? What is it that I'm doing? And we're kind of getting to this place where there's not a whole lot of planning, you could say, that can be done, more in the mental framework of things. It is more kind of skating to this beat of the intuitive drum of things. I've been calling it being a spiritual MacGyver, if anyone knows that show. It's he just figures it out in the moment. Or I guess my dad astrology joke would be intuition and action. You combine the two words, it's into action. It's there's no hesitation. It's you get the intuitive hit and you go with it. And hesitation can definitely come up with these things, but it's that's where the delays can happen. It's can be this self-reflection of, okay, maybe I do need to take a time out, remind myself, look in the mirror, who am I? What are my ambitions? Because Saturn is that planet that deals with legacy, it deals with purpose. And Neptune's that very far out there spiritual planet that's kind of asking us to be okay with like the not knowing fully. So when you combine these things in Aries, it's sort of just like, what is that next purposeful action step that we can take and like not really know where the road is going? Because like historically when Saturn's in Aries, it's kind of like, it's like this temporary like road. It's like a dirt road. Like Saturn, Neptune is historically known for, we're going through like a reconstruction zone of sorts. And if you blow up the astrology like a lot bigger, it's like some of these transits haven't happened since like the start of the like Babylonian Empire. Like we're seeing all this like rewrite of civilization, like with tech and AI stuff. And so it's this like really unprecedented hot energy that we're heading into. And I say that because we've spent so much time, at least the past decade, in a lot of like water and earth energy, these more like feminine, like passive energies, these more like, okay, you know, like I'm being spiritual, I'm like kind of building things out of clay, I'm trying to like relate to people in this like more feminine variety, and then you go into all this like masculine energy, which is like fire and air, with Pluto's already in Aquarius, Uranus is going to be coming into Gemini in April. And so it's a very like extroverted, like putting it out there sort of energy. Like if I had to summarize, it's kind of like, it's good to be known. It's good to take like your ideas and the things that you're thinking about and like communicate with them and like share it with community, like put it out on the internet, the digital space. I mean, the AI thing, I mean, it seems like it's here to stay. I mean, it's in the astrology and all the money seems to be like really funneling like in those directions. And so I think it's astrology can point to like, what are the ethical conscious ways to like use it, like to take like whatever it is that you're doing, like your passion, and like go with it, because this year is kind of getting into the having it kind of show up energy. You know, it's not so much about just passive that, you know, water and earth energy of just like witnessing things and kind of like taking a step back, but actually sort of being a pioneer of sorts, like being on the front lines and going, okay, I have an identity, I have ambitions, I have, you know, I can develop my intuition and follow that intuitive sense of what feels purposeful and just like take those actions and like not know where it's going. I mean, like, I don't know where it's going, but that's could be like the positive part of the unpredictability, like good surprises, especially like if you're acting in alignment with the more metaphysics of things that this can bring up, like the law of vibration, you know, like as you're taking these actions, you know, like where's the vibe at, you know, what's the frequency? And it gets more real this year of like this adage, if you've ever heard it, like your vibe attracts your tribe, you know, there's this sort of like authentic feel for things of like, I think we've been so used to Neptune that was in Pisces since 2011, they could bring up a lot of like smoke and mirrors, you know, with like what's really real and what's not real, whether that's like in the media or like social media. And I think people are just getting to a point where they're just like ready for real, they're ready for authentic, they're ready to like show me who you are, like even if it's raw and like not fully figured out, like it's being okay with this like very initiatory Aries energy, which it is the first zodiac sign of the seasonal new year. And so when you get Saturn Neptune meeting at this 0 degree mark, is each, you know, sign is 30 degrees, and it's like the 0 degrees, it's kind of like, okay, like brand new initiation, new start. It's this like kind of almost like innocent, youthful, doesn't know a whole lot, it's like figuring itself out. And so it's not like we're coming into it without the backbone of all the transits that have been happening since, whether you want to go back to 2020 or 2012, you know, it's like we went through the spiritual awakening, like we see what's going on in the world, like it's not as it seems. And so this brings up like, cool, systems are breaking apart, that's already been happening. And as that concrete has broken apart and we're heading into this like kind of like wild, wild west energy. It's like in terms of consciousness and energy, like we're getting to define it. Like we're the pioneers, like literally everyday people. You know, like this is Pluto in Aquarius now, Uranus, the sign that rules Aquarius and Gemini. So it's a lot about everyday people and community and like what is the power and the impact that we can make. Like not waiting for some hero like in a position on, you know, the screen or a politician or any of those sorts of things, and kind of be like, well, let me just like take what I got and go with it. So I do want to say, because I mentioned this solar eclipse in Aquarius that's also happening tomorrow with the Year of the Fire Horse. So like eclipses, the nice thing about those is that even with all this new, fresh start energy, like how new and raw it is, and like kind of, it's weird because it's like, on a very metaphysical sense, I think we've all kind of been here before in some way, but it can also feel really new to a lot of the population and in terms of the rarity of the transits. But the nice thing about things like the eclipses is that it's kind of like almost when like God creator is almost like communicating to us, like very specifically, like with the sun and the moon. And so when we get specific eclipses in science, we can also go back to the history of when was that last eclipse that happened and kind of like see, oh, what was going on in my life back then. So the last time we had the solar eclipse in Aquarius, I just want to double check the month here, February of 2018. So, you know, you could look and see like this energy that we're going into for the next 6 months, like you could look back and see there's probably going to be a little bit of a backdrop of like what was going on in life for those 6 months starting in February back in 2018. Solar eclipse is, it's like this initiating energy, like it's bringing in new things and it's kind of like pushing out the old. And so if we focus on the new, what it's bringing in and the Aquarius energy, on the outside it could look a lot like freedom, rebellion, wanting to connect in community, wanting to bring a lot of like outside the box, innovative ideas to things. But there's kind of this like other piece too, I think, of sort of with innovation and change also comes the responsibility of grieving the old of what we're moving away from. And I think that's a big part of like this collective change that we're going through, as much excitement as there is like for the new that's like coming in. It's being okay that we've all been a part of reality as much as we try to unplug ourselves from it, that's like fading away and ending. And it's okay like to like experience that process of grieving, whether it's like a new identity that's coming in, a new way of like relating to the world. Like it could even just be even feeling good individually, but still like being, you could say, empathic and feeling like the weight of like what other people are going through that might be confused, like why is this happening, you know, personally or more on a collective like world sense, and you know the whole system's falling apart thing. And these eclipses too, like when you have them, because you have the solar eclipse in Aquarius that is starting tomorrow, and then the lunar eclipse that's happening in Virgo starting on the 3rd of March. Though that 2-week period, like it's a shakeup zone. It's kind of like nothing is like fully settled. And so the fact that Saturn and Neptune are making their official meetup in Aries during that time, and then Mercury is also going to go retrograde in Pisces, which that's what it did like during COVID, you know, where it was like all the like misinformation and like, you know, gaslighting and lies and just all the like weird contradictory stuff that came up. So it's kind of like intense that it's happening during that nothing is fully settled and grounded until that second eclipse happens. And so we're kind of collectively heading into like a 6-month cycle of like, if it's like thinking like, oh, it didn't feel certain or unsure footing like beforehand, like, is it really gonna feel like that now? But again, it could be like the excitement of it, of like, I don't know where this is going, but I'll figure it out. And so that raw energy does bring up, ideally, like tools to like work through fear, like central nervous system regulation, right? Like if we're meant for this to be more intuitive and like kind of aware of like what's going on, it's like making sure like any fears, any traumas, you know, just like those things coming up, that those are sort of like being dealt with, because we are heading into, especially by the middle of the year, like these things where it gets talked about a lot, but it's like really gonna get highlighted, like these ideas of like self-love, like taking action from a place of self-love. Like, do we love ourselves enough to like take that intuitive action in the moment? We're not there yet, we're gravitating out of it, but we've been in a lot of energy that's been for quite a while focused on more what's going on in the world, the collective, like the family, the community, and we're heading into some really highly individualized energy. And so we're gonna feel that more, especially in February of 2027. But it is like kind of preparing us for what that's like, to be a bit more self-reliant, and that when it comes to, okay, well, how do things like work in terms of things happening or connecting with people? And I think a lot of it really comes down to just the frequency part of it. You know, when you show up as yourself, you're aligned in that identity, that vibration, and there's gonna be, it's not gonna be perfect, like there's gonna be lessons and messes and things like that, but I mean, I would say overall, like I am extremely optimistic, like going into this year. I think we've all been like waiting for this change for a long time. If I were to like throw in like a random sort of, hopefully it lands like prediction, when someone asked me to look at the astrology of 2025 and 2026, they're like, hey, I heard it's really going down. Will you like take a look at the astrology? I was like, sure. And it's like, okay, Uranus coming into Gemini, that's where all the like major wars happen that we write about, like not World War I, and we don't really talk about that one, right? It's like Civil War, Revolutionary War, World War II, that sort of thing. But I was like looking at it and I was like, and correct me if I'm wrong, if someone knows, just throw it out there, but I think it was Ronald Reagan that was like, it would take like a collective either like threat or some common denominator to get us to like stop fighting and like war and like differences in that. And so I was like looking at the astrology, I was like, there's a lot of ET energy going on here, you know? So hopefully, like, if that happens, like it would be like benevolent extraterrestrials that like intervene, and not like, you know, like a Mars Attacks movie or something like that. I'm not predicting that, just to clarify. So I did mention, I do want to say too, because I feel like this is worth its weight in gold, like when was the last time an eclipse happened, just to like help for that personal life tracking. The last time we had the lunar eclipse in Virgo was March of 2025, so we just had one. So you might see similar themes, especially more on the, you know, levels of stress and what's going on with health and like deeper personal life, emotional, mental, sort of how to figure out life's routines and work situations, and that, try to get those systems going. Because it's not just like the world that's experiencing like systematic failure, like it's on a personal level too, where what we've been asked to do per this astrology for the last 13 months, and we've got like 5 months to go, like it's not so much to like adhere to a specific daily routine of like, okay, I do this at this exact hour, this exact moment. Ideally, it's more like a going with the flow energy. It's more like my intuition, I'm feeling inspired, and not so much like getting into the even like limited thinking of like, what's my next activity, but more like taking a step back and be like, wow, like there's so many possibilities, you know, like I could go visualize and manifest and see how that feels and try that hat on for manifesting that dream vision, and then like next time the inspiration strikes, like take that next like aligned action towards that. So it's kind of like getting off the treadmill a little bit of like a familiar day-to-day life situation and just seeing all those boundless opportunities that really truly do exist. I do want to say that for those that really want to track things more like on the physical front, like economic stuff, I'm going to talk about Chiron. Chiron's an asteroid. He's a weird guy, but he teaches us a lot. Wherever he's at in the zodiac and the astrology, it's like, what is the collective wound that we're all like healing and dealing with, personally and collectively? So he's been in Aries since 2019. So if you've heard the term come up a lot since 2019, wounded masculine, that's why. Like, we're literally been healing that wound of like the masculine energy, regardless of gender. It's been where it's like, oh, I gotta like show up and I gotta like take action, but like kind of having to be okay with like what the outcome is. The ego can't really attach to how it looks. And so it's just briefly this year, from June 19th until September 17th, it's gonna go into Taurus. So the collective wound shifts to a little bit more of a feminine energy. And so the big ones, I mean, it's Taurus, right? So it deals with money, it deals with currency, it deals with having to like earn money through talents and abilities, like knowing your worth and the quality of things that you could do to create. And so it's interesting because I feel like that's gonna be part of the groaner, is like, oh, like I gotta like be consistent and put in the effort and just like keep showing up and like keep building whatever it is that like we're good at, even when it doesn't feel good. Because Taurus wants to feel good, but Chiron's wounded, so it's like it's not always gonna like feel like, oh man, look at all this, I don't know, money I got, or like my clothes, they feel so good, or the car I drive, right? Taurus's possessions. And so he's a little bit more known for like selfless service. Like, there's a little bit of a martyr vibe to him, but it comes with a reward at the end, because the whole mythology is like Jupiter, which is basically Zeus, like is the one that gives him back his immortality, because it's a very mortal thing. It's like the wounded human thing of like the things that we still have to do in this like reality, no matter how connected we feel to like the spiritual plane of things, or intuition, that there's still just like a real human part of the journey. So I'm not like predicting any like economic crashes or anything, just because like we'll see it for a little bit and then it'll go back into Aries on September 17th, and then we'll see it come back in 2027. Maybe like blips on the radar, like things like getting really shaky, but I would just pay attention during those times to that, because it's significant. And then also too, just like the having it kind of like still like reach in there and just like look in the mirror and be like, oh great, like I have abilities, like I have things that I can do, I have things that I can build. I would say probably, well, if I go back, just because this actually just hit me the other day, I didn't even do this in my first 2026 talk, like for the astrology, the one that I did online. The new moon that's going to be in Aries, I have the exact date pulled up, but it's sometime, actually I still have it, April 17th. There's so much going on in Aries during that time. I mean, it's a new moon, it's on Chiron, it's still in Aries. Saturn, Neptune are there, Mars is going to be there, so, and Mercury too, so it's like, if we look at Aries as like the face, like it's the identity, with all like this overwhelming amount of planets that we haven't seen what it's like to have like a Saturn, Neptune, especially a new moon like with Chiron, like even though we've had that, but we haven't had it with like Neptune, Saturn. If there was ever any doubt like this, like we're not in Kansas anymore, like it's all like moving forward into like this really new raw territory, it's gonna be then. And it's gonna be like, almost like this like subconscious thing that's been going on collectively a little bit that I think, and I don't saying anyone in this room does it, but just like, it's like a collective sort of like thing where it's like, people wondering like is it ever going to go back to normal? Is it ever going to go back to like pre-2020? And so I think like this is the moment where it's like in the face and going like, no, like this is where we're going now. We're heading into these new eras. So calendar marking energy, because it's going to get really intense from, I would say, it's like June 30th, like 4th of July energy. There's a lot going on here. Jupiter's going into Leo. A whole lot of stuff I can name that would get into the weeds, probably with too much like technical details, but what do I want to say about it first? There's so much. Jupiter's the teacher. Like Jupiter is the one that wants to teach and wants to like show us the experience. And so when it goes into Leo, you know, this is things about like the self-love, the loving life aspect of things, like kids, creativity. But we're gonna see the South Node, which the nodes in astrology are the things that like teach us like what are we moving away from, what are we moving towards, and so South Node's what we're moving away from. And it's like this like deep karmic shedding. So if I were to put this into practical terms, South Node has been in Virgo for 13 months, and so that deals with like health and systems and that, and so it's the karmic release, right? So that's where you see Virgo systems breaking down. That's where you see like RFK like coming in, like with the health aspect of things. Like there's going to be things that always like manifest, like no matter what, when the South Node's in a sign. So when you get the South Node in Leo, like there's definitely going to be like a lot of intense discussion around children. I think it's going to be a lot around education because Jupiter is that teacher, that educator energy, and so probably a lot of like collective demand for like, hey, are we paying attention to these things? And it's really interesting because the North Node will be in Aquarius, and this is actually starting at the end of July, by the way. It's like, even though we're like looking at this Leo energy of the kids, or like the Leo energy of like the me, my heart, what do I want? Like what makes me happy? It's still going to be this like Aquarius energy with the North Node that's going to be there with that South Node opposite it for 18 months starting at the end of July, where it's like equality. Like it's not just like about one person or, you know, just like a group of people. It's like all the groups. It's like this equality like basis of it. So ideally it's seeing like that we all have a fair shot, like that there's no like real red tape left other than just like the basics that there always is, which is like fear and you know, just hesitation or the ego getting in the way. Like it really is, again, to reiterate this pioneer energy of going like there's possibilities that we could be going out and doing, because if we're heading in this highly individualized energy and it's like this new frontier, it's kind of like what is our, you know, personal contribution that we're making to that, and then the loyalties of like those ideas is just like the vibrational alignment of other people that are curious and stimulated and excited about those things, but also like somehow like it fits together, because it's not really about the ego so much as it is this more just like my soul is like leading me in this direction, and somehow like it just fits, it just works. It's very metaphysical in that way. Last thing I'll end with here, and then open to Q&A, not just for anything that I cover, but just anything in general, just open book on all of it, is we will have a Venus retrograde this year, so that starts on October 3rd, so 40 days, 40 nights of Venus retrograde in Scorpio and Libra. So last time we saw this was in 2018, so that's another one of those things you could look at for themes that played out in life. I mean, Scorpio deals, of course, with investments, it deals with relationships, so does Libra. So, I mean, planets going retrograde, it's a deep karmic territory. It's like a massive review cycle, and so it's going to bring up the last 8 years of the last Venus retrograde cycle in Scorpio, like everything that we've been doing in our relationships, deep ways of intimacy, relating, you know, money investments, like, do we know how to kind of like go to that edge of that fear and transform like our skill sets, like utilize it like towards something that like feels like a passion. So definitely a thing to pay attention to there. So Q&A time. Yes.
How much can you use this to guide business endeavors? Like, how much can you say, like, oh, we're gonna launch this at this time window because it's gonna have more behind it, and we're gonna wait to launch something else?
Yeah.
How can you use astrology?
Yeah, excellent question. A couple things. One, the first 6 months of the year is the time to launch anything. It's mostly all planets direct, like not retrograde, meaning it's like move forward, full steam ahead. And really it's the last half of the year that we go into what a lot of astrologers call retrograde season, where it's like you have several planets retrograde, and that's always where you're like replaying the tape. Like it's like the rewind. Like you're reviewing the notes of what you could say has already been recorded in like the Akashic records, if I were to use that term. Like it's already been kind of written, and this is what's cool about astrology, right? It's like it gets into like the understanding how the cosmos influence us, to where it's like, yeah, we have free will, but then like if we try to go against like that cosmic influence, and it's like, I'll just do whatever I want during, you know, like Venus retrograde and all those other retrogrades, but it's harder. It's not flowing with things. It's not like really in the synchronicity of like how the universe is speaking. The other thing that I'll add in there is that because Saturn is that planet that deals with business, right? It's like that, you know, for better lack of words, it's like the Uncle Scrooge energy, where it's like you gotta focus and like bear down and like get your stuff done. The fact that we've had it in Pisces for the last 3 years, and it coming to the very beginning of the zodiac for, 2.5, for the next 2.5 years in Aries, and it being with Neptune, because the last time Saturn and Neptune met was in Capricorn, which is also business, in 1989. So the way that business is done, like even that is changing, like even the approach. And that's kind of hard to define because it's going to be unique to the person. It's going to be unique to their past history, to their level of consciousness, to the ability to like kind of like be a self-starter and like that ownership energy. And so that doesn't mean that there's not people and connections to like help carry out those ideas. Actually, I'd say it's even more so kind of like getting used to being okay with this, I wouldn't call it like a monetary gain strategy, but like it is like opening up the black book and being like, okay, I have these cool ideas and there's things I want to do. Who do I know? Who can like help me like make this happen? So yeah, does that answer your question? Any follow up?
Like, let's say you had different things you wanted to do in your business. Could you tell like what what was better to win? Different flavors of
Yeah.
endeavors?
I would say overall, I like to call this heading into the era of like the Renaissance man, Renaissance woman, where it's like we're the furthest away from just do the same thing for like 30 years. Like it's actually good to have a lot of different endeavors and ideas. The simple short answer would be the spark in the moment of just like what feels good and happy and like feels like self-love, especially, you know, more midway of the year. It's almost like, because if Saturn is at the very beginning of Aries with Neptune, and it deals with identity, this deals a lot with like branding, you know, like what your brand is, like who you are, like kind of having that dialed in. So I think that timing for launches and things like that has more to do with just a little bit of like it makes sense part of it. Like it gets into things like, okay, like not doing too many launches at once or doing too many launches like too close together. But it's really just about, like how I would put this too is like with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini, like it is also good energy for like testing things, like experimenting things, like getting feedback, you know, like kind of like, cool, I have this great thing that I want to do, but like, is the collective ready for it? Like, and kind of like testing the curiosity like of it a little bit. So I think it's like good to like kind of like play with those things a little bit, because this is like a no guarantees like astrology. This is more about how to take the rawness of energy and move it in a direction that feels ambitious and good to the soul. And I do want to say, because I've been focusing a lot on the masculine part of like how these transits are showing up, it's still Neptune. It's still like that very compassionate, you know, dreamy, angelic sort of planet. And so it might seem like this has already happened, but like compassion, empathy, the feminine, like softness of things, like is maybe already felt like a commodity, but it's really gonna have to be a conscious choice to like be in that, you know, to like kind of find like, because Saturn wants to be hard, but then Neptune's like, but we want to be soft. And so it's like when they merge together, it's like the right ways to be hard and soft at the same time, like kind of like bold, assertive, but like not like overbearing. See if anything else comes to mind. Yeah, I just keep coming back to like a lot of the, because Aries also doesn't like overthink things, and because these air signs of thinking, which with Pluto and Aquarius, which is unpredictability, Uranus, which is an unpredictable planet, and Gemini, it's kind of like the, you know, as long as it makes sense, it's just like the not overthinking, just like taking the step and utilizing the astrology for the first half of the year, just be like, let's like see where this goes. And there might be multiple roads that some stretch further than others, and they feel like they're not getting finished, and the ego might be like, well, I thought it was going to go this way or this much faster. And it's like being okay with that, because like whatever it is, like it's like thinking about this like long game of, as long as we play the card of like this legacy orientation of like, what am I here to do, and bringing that into the collective consciousness regardless like of the outcome, like it's going to be good, you know, because this is where we are seeding new possibilities. This is where this brings up like a lot of role modeling energy too, like especially like in the home environments, like especially any kids that are around, like showcasing, pioneering, that role modeling energy of like how to live an authentic life. I think that's extremely important too. So, yeah, go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit, which is very important, about the other slow-moving planets that, like you did mention, Uranus going into Gemini and Pluto into Aquarius, because that also leading finally Pluto, everyone was like, when are we gonna get out of Capricorn? Because we saw the structures crumbling, and it's so important to get out of that energy. Capricorn structures going into Aquarius, a little bit more talk about that. Because we know it has a lot of technology, and Pluto's about, change and going, Gemini's an air sign, so there's a lot of innovation, technology, all that, but those are really important. Talk a little bit about.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, Pluto is that planet that it's like the revealer. It's kind of weird, but he's like the Grim Reaper of the zodiac. It's like when the Grim Reaper comes, like how you react is kind of like, oh my God, like it transforms you. It's like the symbolism of like death, like something has to end in order for like a phoenix rising, like rebirth. And so in Aquarius, it's like saying, for the technology like part of it, it's kind of going like, okay, we need to like end the way that we've been doing things technologically, and Pluto being the revealer, it's like revealing the new things that like need to emerge. And so what's crazy is that it's the hidden aspect of how much of the tech is actually new versus how much of the tech was just like pushed down in that like Pluto underworld way, like how much technology like has been like known about by certain agencies, but like they just haven't released it. And so I think it's good for people to be loud and like demanding and talk about like, hey, there's a better way to do things like with technology. I think that there's also this Pluto and Aquarius like thing too about really just being careful about like groupthink, like because it also brings up getting over the fear of like being unique and like thinking outside the box and not just like thinking and just almost like mirroring something someone else like said on the internet, and kind of just like going into kind of this more intuitive, like connected place of like what feels right, like it's almost like because Aquarius deals with complexity, and so with Pluto there, it's like there's hidden stuff, and it's like trying to get all the answers of like what's really going on, like with everything. It's like it's too complex. It's almost like the eureka light bulb moment comes like when the death surrender happens, to just accept that there's no way to like know or understand all of it. And it brings up like Aquarius, it's like about like where your role is at in society. So Pluto like teaches us like it's like this drill too. It's like, here, drill here, like this is your spot, like this is where you can help people, this is where you can be that water bearer energy that helps people. Like it's the water bearer in Aquarius. It's like, oh, you got a cup, and so do you. I'll pour a little bit into your cup, but then I gotta go. Like I got other stuff to do, but Pluto wants to bond. It's like, I wanna hang out here. I wanna hang out with these people. I wanna like watch this person's like social media channel. And so it's like, it brings up frequency stuff too, about like being careful about what rabbit holes we sort of like go down to. Like this is even like, it's okay, I don't know why it comes to mind, but like Alex Jones, like, okay, he might have some really good stuff to say, but like, how does it feel, like the vibe, like watching? Or, hey, I want to go to that sound bath, that sounds fun, but check the intuition. Like that sound bowl practitioner, they have a vibe, and their vibe's rippling into the bowls, and so is that authentic? Is that what you need right now for your innovation? So, and then the Uranus part in Gemini, because it deals so much with like tech and communication stuff. It's so unpredictable, but I will say that the most obvious like thing is like the way that people are going to keep experimenting with new ways of creating with AI, basically. And that's not just like Chat GPT, that's like literally, like for example, it's like me as an astrologer, right? I've been doing horoscopes like since 2018, and so it's like I can go build a thing now, and I'm working on this with a business partner where I can take like the way I do astrology and put it into an app, and then make it its own thing that's not connected to the internet, that draws from like my database of knowledge. And it's like that can be another tool or like offer that I have. So it's things like that. It's it's kind of a wild rabbit hole, but like people that want to learn how to like code, like do programming stuff, which can get a little geeky. I mean, there's a lot of really great opportunities like in that, just because there's so many things that you could build with that. Trying to see if anything else comes to mind on this. I mean, I mentioned the whole Uranus coming into Gemini, like war stuff, but it's, if I got really deeper into like the metaphysics of it, if like Gemini is this zodiac that deals with like two different sides of the coin, like the heads or tails, but it's like one and the same, like Gemini is the twins, but so Uranus is that unpredictable planet that you think it's going to be a fastball and the pitcher like throws a curveball. Like you don't, like it's always just like expect the unexpected. It's literally the only planet that like revolves sideways, where the other ones like don't do that, even in that regard. So factually speaking, it can be like this, like, oh, it's heads, or no, it's tails, and it's like Gemini's like, you know, you could flip that coin and you think it's going to be 50-50, but then it's like heads every time, or it's just gets a little weird, but it's like, oh, there's two sides of the coin, but what about like the side of the coin, like the rim, like inspecting those details? And so there's a lot to say about perspective. This is like a very evolutionary thing of like seeing that everyone has a different take and a different perspective on things, like a familiarity of how they think. And so Uranus is asking us to evolve our thinking. It's asking us to think outside the box. It's asking us to think beyond just like data and is it heads or tails, like what are the facts of things, and to go more into this like almost like neutral hermetic thinking of like, well, it doesn't matter like exactly what the details are, it matters more like, is the way that I'm thinking and my train of thought helping me evolve? Is it helping me to help people? Is it helping me to help my neighbors? Like, is the way that I'm thinking like actually designed to take me to a better place? Because that's really what Uranus is. And so like the tech part of it, it's like the communication side ideally would be using that to like kind of show people like what tech can do, like what AI can do. And so my main encouragement would be like, I don't even know who to recommend, but it would just be like, find someone that's like talking about the latest like innovations like in those areas and give them like a follow on like YouTube or something, or like staying current and just keep staying cutting edge with like those emerging tools, because like these energies of Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini, it's meant to be fun, like stimulating, like whoa, like this is cool, like check this out, it can do this thing, and it's very innovative in that way. So it's not so much for doing the same tried and true way of doing things over and over again. It's like honoring what has like worked before, but then like working with what can be done, what's innovative. So.
Thank you. One quick question, other question.
Yeah.
Can you tell us very briefly how long these planet will be in these new signs?
Absolutely.
This generation.
Yeah, so we've got Uranus that's going to be in Gemini for the next 7 years, so that's 2033. Neptune's going to be in Aries until 2039. Saturn will go, well, Saturn's not really an outer planet, so let's get that one. And then Pluto, that's an 18-year one. So it came in 2024, I'm pretty sure it's like 2042, if I'm doing the math right. I haven't looked at that one in a while. So you want to check my math on that? 2042, yeah. So, which, the other thing I'll say about like the Pluto part, just because this is a really important part to know, is that there's like three waves. There's like almost like these three like waves of consciousness or tiers with Pluto and Aquarius. It's like people that want to resist innovation and new things. So this could bring up, in a practical sense, like techno stress, going like, God dang, it was hard enough to learn how to use an iPhone back in 2008. Now I gotta learn this AI stuff. Like, and so it's like not wanting to face like that fear, that transformation of Pluto into the like, okay, things have to evolve and move forward with tech, with society, how we treat people in the world, like where the future is going. I didn't even mention that. It's like Uranus and Aquarius deal with like timelines, like, you know, like literally the decisions you're making vibrationally influencing the trajectory that you're on. And the other wave though would be the second out of third one is the people that are kind of like, just tell me what the new thing is, and once we have to do it, I'll do it, like I'll join the crowd, whatever. And then the cool kids part is the ones that want to be the pioneers that go first. It's like, that shows people what's possible, so.
Early adopters.
What's that?
Early adopters.
Early adopters, 100%. Yeah, it's early adopters, but it's adopters, but it's also like the inventors too, because Aquarius and Uranus deal with that too, that mad scientist energy, like being the inventor. And I keep seeing a lot of like I connect with a lot of like spiritual energies, you know, so it's like George Washington comes up sometimes. And it's like this reminder of this astrology that this like kind of like was the era where it was that pioneering period of almost like writing the Constitution a little bit. And so it's almost like that actual real, like we the people, like whatever thoughts we're having, like wherever our vibration at, our consciousness, like we've all got a pen and we're writing on the Akashic records of like what it is that we're creating for an extremely long time going forward, even more so than these outer planetary cycles, because even though those planets will change signs, these planets like meeting up, these planets being in certain signs at these times, especially spiritual planets, the outer spiritual ones that deal with the transpersonal, like collective energy, which is that Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, like the fact that they all, within a very short time period, it's unprecedented, move from one sign to another, let alone from earth and water to air and fire like that. Like, those are like the rarest of the rare things, and that's why I like mention these things of like, it can feel like we've never been here before, and then like civilization, humanity, a lot is coming out there. I mean, this stuff can get into questions about, you know, what is God, goddess, if you want to call it that, like creation, creator, like what is that really, like new understandings of how to relate spiritually or religiously. It could be stuff around like, what does it mean to be human? You know, it's like, that might seem like a silly question, but it's like, whether you want to bring up like ET stuff or like cloning stuff or maybe trigger alert, I don't know, but like, how did that change like the biology of people, you know, like the vaccine that came out in 2021, that's a whole big thing that, you know, we won't really know like how that's fully going to settle for a while. So, yeah.
So last year and the year before, we saw auroras from, you know, as far south as Cuba was the last one. And I wondered, what's the impact of not just auroras, but like this enhanced solar weather that we're seeing right now on the outlook for 2026?
Yeah, I think the astrology does tend to like coincide like with a lot of activity like in the solar flares. Like, to be honest, like when I hear people talk about it, I'll like glance at the astrology and be like, okay, that makes sense why that's happening now. I do think it's just it's almost like this is the new normal a little bit. Like if I if I really panned out fully, and this is gets a little bit more into human design, which is like a sister modality to astrology, but the evolutions, like, we may hit like certain plateaus, you know, like before we're like going up and ascending, because the solar flares have a lot to do with that, like, you know, causing ascension symptoms and those impacts. But the evolutions really don't slow down until like 2050, to be honest. So like, this is welcome to the new normal. But it's cool though, you know, because it just, these things happen to kind of, it can feel like forced growth a little bit. Like, oh yeah, no, this is good. Like, it's good that we incarnated here, we have a human body, and yeah, there's tough things about it, but like, let's go do some cool stuff. So, I mean, personally, I just see the solar flare stuff just kind of being the new normal. There'll probably be some peaks and stuff here and there. Because Uranus, and then also Pluto and Aquarius, again, like the unpredictability thing, but technology thing. I know sometimes people talk about, you know, shoot, what if the sun shoots off like coronal mass injection, which is like major solar flares, and then like sends it towards Earth, and then it like wipes out all the communication stuff. It's like, well, maybe, but it's like not expecting that. It's more just like, and this is where I'm always encouraging people to like kind of do what they can in their own thoughts and vibration, where it's like, the higher you vibrate, like the more the surprise of the unpredictability is like good. So whether that's like, we'll see, like I was channeling back in 2021, you know, like really getting spiritual people to like really put good vibrations into like the cryptocurrency, because like it is a very digital based thing. It's very Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini, so it's like there's like literally zero guarantees. Like wherever people think it's going to go, it could go in a different direction. And so it's like not being attached to how it's going to go, but just like letting the quantum vibrations that we put out influence things for the positive, and just like letting us be surprised in a good way. So, yeah, any follow-up questions about the auroras, the solar flares, or anything like that?
Is the tendency, does it amplify or de-intensify the different readings that you have, or is it a non-factor? I haven't like had like a direct correlation like with the solar flares with astrology. I will say that I wouldn't be surprised, and this actually might be a good experiment for me to run this year, that they'll be more intense during peak periods of certain astrological alignments, but then also when things are more direct, like the more intense, like faster, quicker moving energy versus like retrograde season. I'm not someone that's like went to, what is the thing that measures it that people go to? The name of it? The Schumann resonance? Yeah. Like, I don't usually go to that, like, but that's a good experiment to run. So, yeah, maybe I'll talk about some 2027 stuff next year and have some stuff to come back and report. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So this is kind of a generalized question for astrology, and it's my mind wandering too. So I went to a Sunfire festival, and the indigenous people still go by a 13-month calendar. And of course, astrology today is aligned with the 12-month. How does the 13-month calendar affect astrology? Because I know that changes birthdays and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because there's so many like different systems like that makes me think of a lot of people really believe like the astrology that I do, which is like Western tropical astrology, where it's like, okay, every year on March 20th, it's like the spring equinox. But there's a lot of people that believe that like Vedic astrology that accounts for what's known as the precession of the equinoxes, which is the Earth rotates on a 23-degree axis. So there's like a wobble And the best way I know how to relate that, if anyone remembers the movie Inception, where like he had his like totem and he would spin it, and it would fall down, and then he was like he was not dreaming, and so it's like that wobble. So think about it, if like the Earth is on its 23-degree axis and it's wobbling over these long periods of time, of like 26,000 years, our view of the constellations is like changing, like it's not like a fixed thing. So like what Vedic astrology shows us is that if we looked at where the sun is actually rising in the true skyline in space in Aries, it's actually not our March 20th. And so it's like, there's like different systems that are good for different things. It's like the astrology I do is like very like individual, psychological, what's the story of what you're going through in life. It's kind of a Carl Jungian type approach, whereas the Vedic astrology is a little bit more good for predictions and karma and just different things. And so what these things that have like different systems that seem to maybe be in conflict with other things, I think ultimately what we have really is just like tools for, like tools to measure understandings of consciousness. And that tool is more designed to get us like in the ballpark of understanding, because I don't think we can fully understand it like all at once, and then it's like this one fixed exact way to do things, right? Because hashtag religion, you know, it's like you gotta do it this way. So it's like, that's kind of like what I default to with things like that. It's just, if you gravitate towards it and like it works, great, you know. But like I had an astrologer online the other day say that, you know, only Vedic astrology is like true or effective or whatever. And it's like, well, there's plenty of astrologers that have effectively used other forms of astrology to like cast horoscopes and predictions and things like that. So it's like a different strokes for different folks type thing. You know, does that make sense?
I mean, it's a little confusing to me, but
Yeah, do you prefer kind of like a like fixed understanding of like things coming together,
well,
or?
I mean, I'm just looking at like my personal astrology chart on my birthday, but on a 13-month calendar, my birthday's gonna be different.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm just curious, I don't think my astrology is gonna change, even though my numbers might, which doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
With the two calendars.
yeah, it's interesting because how many days do they put in those in the months of those
28
calendars?
days a month, I think. I think it's 28 days a month.
Yeah. I mean, do they talk about like astrology in any of that, or is it more just a calendar system?
That's what got my
Yeah.
curiosity going. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really I haven't like really went down that rabbit hole to see like how do like other people's calendar systems change it. Like I can't quite picture like would it even change anything? Like I don't, it doesn't necessarily like have to. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay, so from what I'm thinking is like your birthday, you might call it something different, but it's still what was in the sky on the time you were born.
And that's what,
not
Yeah.
changing.
that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. So even if they call it something different,
Mhm.
it's still what was going on in the sky when you were born.
Right. I agree. That's what I was picturing in my head without, because I can't speak to it specifically, but I've actually sat down and looked at it, but that makes sense to me where it's like, you know, even if your birthday on a calendar is like on a different date, doesn't necessarily change like the astrology of it, right? If you're using Western astrology, for example, like the sun's still going to be at whatever degree that was in the sign that was in. So yeah, and you know, just to piggyback off that, it's like I think it's good to like utilize these different forms of understanding too. Like I know a lot of astrologers that do what's called whole sign astrology, where like the houses in astrology, and this is getting really technical, but like they line up perfectly to each zodiac sign, so each house has its own zodiac. I run it Placidus, where the houses may cover multiple signs, you know, and so, or having multiple houses in a single sign. So I've gotten readings with both, and I've looked at both, and I think it's cool because they both make sense to me. Like so, like if I'm in Placidus, my sun, Jupiter, and Capricorn's in the 10th house of career and, you know, achievement and being seen like on a public stage in that. But then in whole sign, it's all in the 9th house, which is more about like being a teacher and travel and expansion and learning in that. But like for me, like both of those things fit, you know, like they both fit. So I know it's not like, it just brought that up, even though that's not what you were asking, just for anyone that, okay, we'll do that. For anyone that's like considering like, even, it's kind of like even like the techno-metaphysical stress, like, wow, astrology is so complex and there's all these things about there's human design and there's these different ways of looking at it. And it's just curiosity going down the rabbit hole and seeing how it all can like weave a story and complement it. So, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned a discussion or something that you did online. How can we follow you?
Yeah, so my YouTube is astrologer Eric Rosen. So I put out at least a weekly horoscope, and I look at the major transits that usually comes out like Wednesday or Thursday, and I just do it for the week ahead. The talk that I did for the Astrology of 2026, I actually do have an email collector up here for anyone that wants to be on the email list, because that was a special that I did where I charged like 21 bucks or something like that for that webinar for like I went through like all the major transits. I don't even know how long it was, but I didn't put that up, like that's not on YouTube publicly, and I haven't even put it on my website yet, to be honest. So that's just like a link that I can send someone if they're interested in that. So
Is it E-R-I-C?
yes,
R-O-S-I-N?
R-O-S-E-N.
E-N.
Yep.
And then the website?
Yeah, it's and I do have cards up here too for anyone who
okay,
wants
sorry.
it. But you're fine. It's astrology by by EricRosen.com.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then Eric, I think I saw online, I follow Margie K. Are you speaking at a conference coming up?
Margie K, what is she affiliated with?
MUFON?
Huh?
MUFON?
Not
I
familiar.
saw online that, are you speaking at a conference coming up?
The only things that I have coming up currently is just like more like the local Midwest, like metaphysical fairs, like doing like workshops.
It might have been the KC Metaphysical.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, Casey Metaphysical.
I think she just posted it.
Okay, yeah, yep, that's probably the next one that I'm doing, that's mid-March in Kansas City, so.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Eric,
Yes.
you post stuff on Facebook as well.
Yeah, also, business, thank you, Heidi, I appreciate that. It's astrology,
This-
Eric
this is,
Rosen.
you know, that there's a Facebook group for these people, so.
Yeah.
it's easy to connect.
Absolutely, yeah. And I can always, Jim, is it okay if I drop details in the group too?
Definitely. Always,
Cool.
yes, definitely.
Awesome,
Anybody,
cool.
yes.
Yeah, awesome. You have a question?
Since Uranus is heading into Gemini in April, does that give, I'm Taurus, so it's kind of like, I go like, can we have a reprieve now? Is, so for the earth signs, will we get a reprieve? And who of the zodiac signs are going to be affected the most?
The signs that are going to be affected the most for Uranus and Gemini is going to be the mutable signs, because like in astrology there's cardinal, fixed, and mutable, and so cardinal wants to initiate, fixed wants to hold things together, keep it going, mutable's like, all right, we got to change it up. And so Gemini is a mutable air sign, so the other mutable signs get affected, so that's that's Pisces, that's Sagittarius, and why am I forgetting the water sign right now? No, I covered it, Pisces. Virgo, thank you. Yeah, Virgo's the other one. So those signs will get affected the most by that, but then you also have like the Saturn, Neptune meet up in Aries, which is a cardinal sign, so that one will really hit home for Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. And then Pluto's in a fixed sign, you know, so you see how it's like everyone's like still getting something, like everyone's still gonna be holding a piece of like some, whoa, what the fuck is this? Sorry, there were kids here earlier, I had to like make sure they didn't hear stuff. I had to take a mental note of that. No cursing, Eric. And I mean, so how do I put this? There's no really easy way to teach this. Like it would probably have to be its own standalone like workshop, like showing people like what area are these transits hitting you like for your sun sign or even like your rising sign. I may at some point bring back doing sun rising sign horoscopes. Those are the most popular ones, that horoscopes that I do, obviously, because that actually helps people a little bit more specific to like their journey. So I may start doing those again. So yeah. Did I answer your question? Like,
Sure. I was just hoping that the 4 earth signs were gonna have a little bit easier time.
yeah, I mean,
It's been 7 years.
yeah, I mean, somewhat, like it depends, right? Like for the Uranus piece in general, like it's for a Taurus, it's like moving away from this constant since 2018 era of change in your identity, but also through your abilities, your self-worth, your skill set. Like I didn't start coaching and doing astrology or any of this stuff till 2018. You know, it was an ayahuasca ceremony that really blasted me off at the end of 2017, right before it came in. And so like now with it being in Gemini now, it's a little bit more like, okay, you've been evolving as a person and having to constantly change the direction that you're going in. And so like here's where you take all those almost like spiritual lessons and identity changes and you start building something with it. Like now, like you actually have to like be skilled at communicating your value and like helping people and like making money from it is how I would put it for a Taurus. Yeah. You bet? Yes.
A little bit of a personal question.
Mhm.
When did you start going in this direction? Like, I mean, like this since you were a kid, were you interested, or was there something that happened?
I met a spiritual woman on Bumble and she showed me spiritual stuff was real and I was like, well, I can't deny it. So then I started going down the rabbit holes. That's actually how it happened. Yeah, no, I didn't gravitate towards anything as a kid. I was a construction project manager. That's actually, I met Kathy here, probably part of the reason that I'm here. You know, so very, very left brain, like, could not have imagined back in 2008 I would be standing up here doing this. And so what happened was that relationship, it didn't last, but it was kind of like the Trojan horse to this whole new like world of ideas. And I started following the astrologer that she had introduced me to, showed me his horoscopes. At first I was like really resistant. I was like, this guy's super Leo. But he did the first ever like astrology app for your phone, and he would send these notifications, and sometimes I would be sitting there thinking about something, and I would literally get a notification that he was sending to everyone on the platform in real time, and I'd be like, I was just like thinking about this thing, how is this like happening? And then he announced that he was doing an astrology school only like 2 weeks after following his horoscopes, and it was the most fun I'd ever had learning anything in my life. And once I stopped trying to do readings and look at charts exactly the way that he taught, and started to trust my intuition, my channeling, and my own flow, was where things really started to blossom.
So you were like in your 30s, 20s?
Yeah, I was, let's see, more math. 8 years ago, I was 33. Yeah, so, which I wish I would have known astrology sooner, because my Saturn return was awful. So Saturn return happens around age 28, 30, and then age like 58, 60, and it's like this like very karmic, gotta grow up energy, hard life lessons, but it doesn't have to be hard. It just kind of is more meant to get you on your road and your path that you're meant to be on. So, yeah. There was just a lot of questions coming up for me during that time, like, what's going on here? Anyone else? Yeah.
I just want to say that I was always interested in this kind of stuff, but I'm just really amazed at how you remember, like, this planet does this, and this.
And the duration.
You know, and, yeah, the timelines, and this is very impressive, so
Thank you. Yeah, I still have aspirations to be a walking ephemeris, you know? Like, ephemeris is like the data of where all the major things in astrology have happened, you know, however many years ago, decades, but also the ones coming in the future, because that's the nice thing about astrology is like the whole joke about, and this is really old-timey, but like the only thing that's certain is death and taxes, but it does like kind of clue us in when it's like, oh wow, the sun, the moon, like the planets, like it never changes. Like they follow a predictable order, and so they really do give us an influence on where things are at. But yeah, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. So I'll just wrap it up by saying, of course, I mentioned the cards up here, the email collector. I do astrology readings. I use it also as like a coaching tool, just like other things like trauma-informed breath work, shamanic like energy clearing. Basically, like my main thing that I like to do for people is I use astrology as a compass kind of slash roadmap to give them as much information I can to help them get in alignment with the direction they want to go, or even just with what I'm seeing, they would feel more in alignment with purpose, vitality. And then I give that information as like a DIY, do-it-yourself, like kind of path, and then if people want to go deeper with me, and there's anything they want to work on, healing energetically or coaching, you know, getting unstuck, clarity, building a business, that sort of thing, that's where people can come and work with me deeper. But all that information is available on my website. Oh, and just because this is just popping in, if anyone wants to come hang out with me at my first spiritual retreat in Sedona in mid-May, it's weird. Yeah, hit me up for that. So, thanks everyone.
Thank you. All right, hey everyone. So a lot of you know Lily Nova, Tyler Koala are part of this group. They've since moved on to Sedona. It was suggested by someone here that we all say hi to them. So I'm going to start a little video if everybody wants to say hi to Tyler and Lily.